Good morning, everybody. Natalie Coach Live, Spirit and Coffee. Got my coffee here. Yum, yum, yum. Holiday seasonal coffee that I got. And just so you guys know, I don't drink coffee to wake me up in the morning. I drink it because I love the flavor. I love the ritual behind it. Hearing the pot brew in the morning. It's so lovely. Okay, so as you guys know, I'm on a new spiritual health act. What does that mean? So, as you guys know, I'm working at a health club. And so, part of what I'm up to this year is to really take on my health goals to new heights. Why? Because I want to understand where I fit in the fitness world or fitness industry, and can I fit in there, and is it something that I want to do? And so, sort of understanding the ins and outs of everything, which it's kind of like get thrown into the pool. Don't know if the water's cold or hot or warm. You just get thrown in. Good morning, Jonathan. Good morning, Kumar. Good morning, Lewis. So, as you guys know, that's what I'm up to. And I absolutely am loving it so far. Some days I'm going, is this really for me or is it not? And then it's like, yeah, you've got to give it all you got. And so, that's what life's about, right? Giving it all we got until we can't give no more. And then when we can't give no more, maybe we give just a little bit more. And then when we know that it's like quits, then we quit. And not quit, but pivot is a better word, I should say. We pivot into something different, something that's going to support us into our divine purpose, because sometimes we have to pivot. That's part of life, right? It's not, we can't always be doing the same stuff over and over and over and over again. Good morning, Gato. Good morning, Adan. Because sometimes what happens, right, is like we'll start something, we'll keep getting results, and then maybe we get bored and we're like, we need something new. Like we've already mastered this particular thing in our life, and now we're ready to go on to something new. And that's the beauty of life, right? We can always take on new things. We can always try on a different suit, right? It was like, well, I'm going to try this on. I'm going to do this. Good morning, Kim. Blessings to you too, Adan. I love all so like Adan, he does sculpt he does uh tell us what you do. You're like a carpenter, but you do artwork. Carvings or sculptings. I don't know what the proper terminology is for what you do, but it's beautiful work. Okay, let's talk about this. I'm gonna start reading. Good morning, Doreen. Good morning, those on podcast as well. Good morning, Anthony. We see Minister Anthony Walker on here a lot. I've seen you a few times, so good morning to you. Okay, Griselda, good morning. And hope you guys have your coffee if you're coffee lovers, because I am. Good morning, Jeff. Okay, so we talked about the mitote. And I love the word mitote because I was raised in the Southwest where we say mitotera, mitotero, which in my mind was a nosy person, but really now that I understand it from the Toltec standpoint, it's just the stories that we tell. The belief in the illusion, the belief in the lies that we have created for ourselves, right? And they point out that it's that it's the negatives and it's everything. It's the positives, the negatives, the all there is love. And that's it. Now, somehow, and I was thinking about this the other day, it's like, why did we experience a duality? What was the purpose behind it? Was it like a project, scientific project? God's like, let's have a project. Let's see what happens. I don't know. But I do know that I cry. And this morning, I had this really profound, like, just like when people are wanting or being cruel, right? Good morning, Idea. It's like, to me, it's like they're being cruel to God because I embody God. I recognize, I know that I am an extension of God. And so it hurts right? There's some hurt, like a rejection of God in some way. That's how I feel. Like when you deny your brothers and sisters, you're denying God. You're denying the God within them. Namaste means I see God within you. I see you. I see that you are me and I am you. And these these notions of we are one, we are all God. And then when we beat each other up or beat ourselves up, we're really just beating up God. And it's really sad because God is this, like I was thinking, like is God a doormat in some ways? Because we think of as people, right? If we continue to love and 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 then get, beat up over and over again, then it's like I'm not going to be a doormat, and eventually we got to stand up for what's right. But it's like God doesn't care. Isn't that weird? That's in my mind. My belief system is God doesn't care. He's going to love you anyways. Like, and I say he. I use the gender terminology he. So you guys, whatever you want to call it, universe, whatever it is for you, right? The book. Okay, let's see. The book, The Trinity, God in Man, is a great read for your show. Oh, okay. Trinity of God. I like that. Okay, I will take a look into that book. If you could leave me the author, I could look it up, but I'll find the author. But just make sure I get the author because I'm sure there's not more than one. But I would love to look into that book. I was reading, just so you know, Anthony, I was reading The Christ Blueprint, 13 Keys to Christ Consciousness. Oh, is it your book? That's awesome. Oh, good, cool. Okay, I will definitely look it up. If you were interested in having me read it, I will look it up. I will read it. I'm a reader. I love to read. People have been asking me about when I'm gonna write my book. Apparently, I need to write one. It's crazy. You have all this stuff in your brains, right? And you have all this stuff going on in your minds, and to get it out on paper, because if you can see, if you're a brain like mine, you can see the interconnection from the smallest, tiniest things. And you can understand how they relate to all life around you. Just I pick up on little things people don't even realize, and then I'll be like blah blah blah, and they think that you're a prophet or they think that you are a psychic, and it's not that. It's that patterns repeat themselves. I've told you guys this before. They repeat themselves over and over and over again. And so it's just picking up on the cues and recognizing and being aware. Now this takes a high level of what presence and self-awareness and like being alert. So don't pick up on every single thing. There's absolutely no way I could do that. But when I do pick up on the small cues, I can understand how a person's choice is going to lead to a certain thing, or I can understand the psychology and bring it back to love. At the point that we are trapped or drop into the fear, right, we have to ask ourselves, what is it in my life that I'm doing that's keeping me in the scarcity mindset? What is it that I get to shift in order to step into the abundance of my life? And those questions are bigger questions for ourselves, because it's like, how do I step into the abundance? How do I allow myself to be in the flow of God? Most of the time, and oftentimes, we step into what? The fear and the scarcity. There's not enough. There's not enough. Oh my God, what am I going to do? There's not enough food. There's not enough money. There's not enough water. There's not enough this. There's not enough that. Guess what? There is enough. And in fact, when I was working out at the gym yesterday, on TV, they were having awards for heroes, and they mentioned this guy who cleaned up the ocean, or not the beaches. He started cleaning up the beaches, and people started helping, and the mess was cleaned up because everybody got together to do it. And so when you think about it, it's like we think there's not enough, but there is. And if we all work together, right, we have an abundance of resources together in unity. But mostly we don't work in unity because we think we're separate. And so we have this illusion that we're separate and we got to do it by ourselves. The reality is we need support. We need people in our life. People in our life will support us, and we need that. And everybody has support. So to say that you don't or you're not, right, is not the truth. Anthony, why don't we talk offline, and then one day I can bring you into my podcast. I don't know how to do it right now. I tried to have a special guest come on. By the way, I want to say that real quick. I was supposed to have Lisa as a special guest on here, and we could not figure out the technology for to save our life. So we're going to fix that, and this Saturday coming up, she's going to get on. We will follow through with what we said we were going to do. We will have a podcast now. Facebook itself doesn't allow you to invite guests on, so we're going to be doing streaming live on Instagram as well as Podbean or this podcast. So hopefully we can get it figured out. Okay. Yes, and you want to talk about the doormat. Okay, so basically, let me look at your book, Anthony. And then also, if you are going to do a live video with me, I also do Facebook Live. So we would have to figure out a way for you to get on live, maybe on Instagram, and then also on the podcast. Or if we could just do a podcast, it would have to be on the weekend. That's sort of the format that I have for Spirit and Coffee. And it's only because I'm on Facebook Live as well. And I want my viewers for Facebook Live, who've been following me far longer than the Podbean podcast, to actually be involved and be able to have, um, you know, a connection to us. Okay. Yes, I will. I will look you up and I will look up your book. Really glad. I would love to read other people's books. Okay. Here we go. Now, okay, so that is why humans resist life itself. To be alive is the biggest fear humans have. Death is not the biggest fear we have. Our biggest fear is taking the risk to be alive, the risk to be alive and express what we really are. Now, I want to talk about this really quickly because it's kind of funny. So, I was a Toastmaster, okay? And as a Toastmaster, they always say, what was your, so when you talk about your greatest fear, good morning, Rick. Good morning, Gregory. When we talk about the greatest fear people have, and it's actually public speaking before death. People would rather die before they speak in public. Now, the way that this is expressed, afraid to live, right? It says afraid to live. Cheers, salute to you too. I like what it says because it embodies or encompasses all of what that is, not just the fear of public speaking in front of other people, but the fear of speaking our truth. Okay, the biggest risk is to be alive. The risk to be alive and express what we really are. In the expression of what we really are, let's circle back to what I talked about a few days ago. I was talking about the fact that we are just here to observe and communicate, okay? And this becomes very hard to do because the only way, so let's draw back, the only way that we have, I'm not going to say the only way, but what we've put emphasis on is communication through our vocal cords, right? And then what we've done is we've put together words that try to describe what it is that we are going through in our life. That's all it is. It's very simple. We want to make it this big, elaborate thing, and it's really not. It's not. What we're doing is going through an experience and an observation. So if you saw yourself as an extension of God, it's God in motion. You're God in motion, and you're experiencing this thing that's not true, but it feels true. And so there's an experience behind it. But now, because over the years and because of the intelligence of us and the awareness of us, we have learned to create language to communicate and express what it is we are experiencing in our God self. However, because we think we live in a duality, because we think we live separate, we fall into fear and scarcity. And in that fear and scarcity that we fall into, we start to create a world, a nightmare. And that's what this was talking about. We've created a nightmare for what? Why? Well, partially, I think because it wouldn't be fun if we didn't have some of the journeys that we go on. Life wouldn't be as fun. It'd be dull, and we would just sit still. But we're not. We're in motion. We're viewing the world as though it's in motion, as though there's all these separate parts, right? And we have all these things and journeys we can go on. We can choose to go this way or that way. Now, where does it end up? I don't know. They say that our destiny is predetermined, but to get to that predetermined destiny, we have to make choices. And in those choices, different stories kind of manifest out of that, okay? Different stories start to unfold, unveil. And you're like, ooh, should I do this or that? Like I had a choice. I had a choice to go to an old way of doing work, or I can step into this whole new career that I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. Let's just be real. Let's be honest. Bye. Love you. Okay, say hi. Say hi to these ones.
Hi, have a good day.
Okay. Good morning, Mikey. And so the predetermined journey that we have that's going to ignite us into, love you too, into our God self. Now, here's the deal. The nightmare that we're creating is us creating it. Why? Because we're like, what do we choose? There's so many choices. Do I go this way? Do I go that way? Shit, I went that way. Oops, now I'm falling off the roller coaster. Oops, I should have got on that roller coaster. Ooh, that one looks shinier. Like we have all this information coming in. We don't know what the hell to do with it, right? So here's how we support ourselves with all that information coming in and pick a path that's going to support us. How do we do that? How? We have to get clear with who we are. We have to understand who we are. That is the biggest, hardest thing that we can possibly do in our life is start to take the finger and stop pointing it out and point it in and say, shit, what do I get to do to be a better person? What do I get to do to create the life I want? What do I get to do to love others? What do I get to do to love myself? We start to point the finger internally. This is what self-aware people do. Now, self-aware people probably have higher levels of joy, happiness, and balance. So again, you're pointing the finger back in, you're looking at yourself from within, and you're saying, how do I make the choice that's best for me? Well, again, you've got to understand who you are and what your heart's desires are. What is your heart truly telling you? What does your heart truly want? Every time you choose your heart, you choose right. When you choose go against your heart, now what does that take? That takes courage to be able to express yourself completely, fully, and wholly. Now, we only have words to describe what it is that we're feeling. These words get distorted, they get lost. Why? Because most people don't know what words to use to describe the experience that they're having in the vessel. They don't know how to say it. Now, on the other end is that we express the internal, but there's a receiver who's going to receive that message. Now, we don't know how they're going to receive it. You might say something that you're saying this, and similar words have similar context, but because you said a certain word that triggers this person that you didn't mean to, but then their historical identification or marker on that particular word triggers something inside of them, sends them on a spiral, and you're like, what did I do? That's not what I meant. Language, critical. The way that we articulate and express ourselves with clarity, important. How do we get clear with who we are? We have to understand who we are before we can get clear about what it is we're doing. Clarity. I'm going to show you something, okay, that I've been doing for my new job. Okay. And for those on Podbean, since you can't see it, I will describe to you what it is that I'm doing. Okay. Now, I'm in this new position, and I know that in order for me to be successful, I have to be organized. If I'm not organized, I'm chaotic. If I'm chaotic, I am not, um, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Okay. So, what I've done is I said, how do I come up with a system and a process that's going to work for me? I'm totally old school. People use their computers and technology, and perhaps I will eventually get there. But this is part of my programming that's old school. I have to write things down. I cannot and I have to write them, physically write them down. Otherwise, I don't remember, or they stay stuck in my brain. And really, I can't have a whole bunch going on in my brain. I need to just expel it all because, as you guys know, my brain processes like really quickly, like it blah 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 blah. I have to get it out, or I'm gonna get overloaded, and I can't do that. Won't work for me. So I understand myself enough to know what needs to happen. So that's it. Looking at yourself, know what you need in order to make it work. Okay. So I've created this beautiful system. It's really a thick binder. It's not a binder, but it's this tool thing, right? And this tool thing has everything in it. And it's organized by what? It's organized by the months, and in the months I have to-do lists, and then I have a calendar, and I can start marking up appointments and doing all that stuff, and it's all organized, and I feel better. Like I didn't have a headache yesterday. I was getting headaches because I had so much to do in my brain, and I didn't have a place to put it. I was on overload. So you get to, or not, understand who you are and how this is going to support you in your life. How do we get to create clarity? Now, when you're speaking to somebody, it's the same process. Getting clear about what it is you want to communicate. Being very clear about what it is you want to communicate. And people, like, they'll say, well, I don't have the exact words that you have. And I'm like, you don't need to have the words that I have. Use the words that you have. And then when you are utilizing those words, ask yourself, is that truly what I'm trying to convey? Is that clear enough for what I want to articulate or communicate? I have to be very clear about what I'm trying to communicate. I need people to understand because sometimes it can be misconstrued about what it is that I'm trying to say. And I need to understand that and draw it back, right? Good morning, Dre. Drea. Drea. So how do we do this? Well, understanding words is important. I've talked about this before. You've got to understand the concepts and what you're talking about, or don't. It's up to you. Not you can or cannot. Not it's up to you. And when you do this, right? When you look at the words and understand the concepts that you're looking at, and you understand how you're embodying these concepts, meaning how are you taking the concept into the vessel, into the reality? How? So that's huge, right? Because it is a state of being, but the question is how. And that's more of a mechanistic. I'm doing this for you, Jonathan, because I know you're like, what about the being? Which I really like. But we do have this, how does it play out into the actual world that we live in? How into the world, right? How do we take a concept into the world? I've talked about this quite a bit. I'm going to continue to talk about it because I'm not 100% sure that you guys are landing that, right? That theoretically we say stuff, conceptually we say stuff, and then we don't really know, like, we want to convey a message. We want to use the words that we have to describe the experience that's happening internally, but we don't necessarily know how to express it. It's like, how do I express this? How do I communicate this? How do I get this person to understand what it is that I'm feeling? Well, the reality is, I understand you completely go on. Thank you, Jonathan. Is how do we, so good morning, Katrina. How do we take the concept? So let's take the concept of, let's just take a concept. And we'll take the concept of anger or frustration. Now, to communicate frustration, like, I'm frustrated. Okay, well, what does that mean for you? And then you're like, well, it means that I'm not happy. Okay, so how does that feel? How does it feel in the body to be frustrated? What are the physical sensations that arise in the concept of frustration? Because in order for you to shift into something else, in order for you to shift out of the frustration, if you don't understand what responses are happening in the body, good luck trying to shift it. You're going to stay frustrated for a long time. You're not going to know how to shift it. You're going to be like, I'm frustrated until I'm not frustrated. And how does that work? Well, eventually, right? It's how do I switch it over? And the reality is that you take that concept, you understand it fully. How does it feel in the body? My physical sensations. How does it feel, in the gut, in the brain, in the fingers, in the whatever it is? How do I take that information and how do I shift the energy in the body? Into what? What is the opposite of frustration for you? It's that simple. If you're frustrated, and maybe you get sweaty palms or your head is like, I can't, whatever it is, that you understand how to shift that energy into something that's going to serve you. And that takes practice and that takes an understanding of who you are. You need to understand who you are as a person, as a human being. You need to understand who you are and how that expression is coming out. This coffee's really good. Good morning, Georgia. Okay, good. So I hope this is helpful. Okay, just being ourselves is the biggest fear of humans. We have learned to live our lives trying to satisfy other people's demands. We have learned to live by others people's points of view because of the fear of not being accepted and not being good enough for someone else. And this is huge. So the part of the book talks about being right. The other one talks about looking good. Being right and looking good. These are they're important distinctions because when we start to talk about the human psyche and human nature, it typically boils down to these two things. I got to be right about this or I want to look good. I don't want to look bad. I don't want people to think that I'm this or that. I have to impress this group of people. They're going to think this about me. And so it ends up boiling down to like, I don't want people to see me as this kind of a person or that kind of a person. So the need to look good is huge for a lot of people. In fact, everyone. If it wasn't, we would just be like, screw you, I'm doing what I'm doing. And then sometimes when we do that, we don't necessarily have a bunch of friends. Good morning, Brittany. People that typically stand up for who they are and know who they are very powerful people. And sometimes they stand alone. And it's kind of like, and it doesn't have to be from a place of like, I'm better, da, 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 like that, but more like this is uniquely me. I accept me 100% for who I am. Now, either good morning, Bob, you accept me or you don't, and that's okay. And if people don't accept them for who they are, well, some people will walk away. And so that happens in our life, right? People will walk away from us and we get upset. We go chasing them. We just have to have them in our life. And it's the ones that don't want us that mostly people will run after. Like, I just have to make sure that they know that I'm awesome. You are awesome. You don't have to prove that shit to people. But it's okay if you do. Does it make you wrong if you do? No. So looking good is a huge one. Now there was a YouTube video I think a long time ago of this guy who was like dancing off by himself out on the beach or something. No, it was a party. I don't know. You guys might have seen it. Good morning, Carlos. And it was about leadership. The video was about leadership, and it was the first guy out there. He was dancing, and he was dancing funny, and everybody's kind of looking at him, and he did not give two shits. He's like, "This is who I am, and this is what I do, and that's it. This is who I am. This is what I do." So he's out there dancing, and he kept on, kept on, kept on, kept on, kept on dancing, and then what happened? Well, another guy, right, shows up and starts dancing with him. He's like, I'm going to go with him. And so he has a follower, right? He has one person and then the other person comes, starts dancing with him. So he's dancing, dancing, dancing. And then all of a sudden, everybody's dancing. This guy didn't give two shits. The first guy didn't give two shits who thought what or what, and he was a loner. He was by himself. He was like, I'm gonna do me. So that's why I say, you do you, boo boo. You do your life. Do whatever makes you happy. And do it with love and do it all out. Because I will. I just go and I just play it out on the field. I'm like, you either like me, don't. I don't know what to tell you. I'm just going to do me. I'm not here to harm anybody. I'm just here to have fun in this world. And I'm here to give back however I can, like add value back, right? That's why I do these things to add value back. Hopefully, to your lives, I'm adding value. So I'm out there doing my thing. He's out there doing his thing, and he's alone. But eventually, somebody follows. Eventually, someone comes on. Eventually, someone's like, I want to check this out. And they do. And then what happens with that? More people start to follow. And before you know it, it's a movement. And that's really how this works. It's sort of like the guy who got this award last night, um, for CNN award hero or something, started cleaning up the, you know, the beaches, started cleaning it up and just solo by himself. Everybody's like, what are you doing? That's dumb. You're never going to get anything done. But then somebody else caught on, and then somebody else caught on, and then somebody, and then before you know it, it was a movement. And when everybody got together, they created something magnificent and beautiful, because the power is in the numbers. The power is in us uniting. The power is in us recognizing that we are not alone and that we can have people support us. But our mind tells us, if I have to look good to please others because I have to be like that. But if I'm not, I'll be alone. And then there's the fear of being alone. But the fear itself is, yeah, I might be alone for a while. Doesn't mean forever. Because people are going to say, wow, you're uniquely you. That's awesome. And then people will be like, I want to be uniquely me. What do I have? Why am I following? So we do this over and over to look good in front of people. For what? Why? Why are you doing that? That's my question to you. What is the purpose? Why do you have to look good for others? Not a bad question. I mean, it's not a judgment question either. It's, is it serving you to do that? Is it serving you? Okay. So there you have it. And we will go on. It's going to be a shorter podcast today. I know I typically go on forever, but we will continue reading out of the book. I have a lot going on in my life that I could share with you guys for support. But just so you know, Lisa will be on. Lisa will be coming on Saturday. I'm going to do a post and an update on the post, and we apologize for the technical difficulties for Saturday. But we definitely will be on Saturday at 1 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. Lisa Galindo Roque, who is a ontological coach, a really dear friend of mine. Just one of like, you guys have no idea. People that I bring on here are like the kindest souls. They're the people that, they're not some big star that we follow or this or that, but these are the people that do the work behind the scenes that no one ever actually, that people don't recognize or don't know. Hi, Andy. How are you? Thank you for showing up. And that's what I want to do. I want to bring to light and illuminate those who typically are not illuminated. So I absolutely would love for you guys to be there. Okay. I'm doing good, Andy. Thank you. I see that you called in as a guest or call-ins. I don't know how that works. And I tried to do it the other day with a guest, and I don't know what happened. So I need to do a little bit more research on Podbean, apparently, or these podcasts to understand how it works. Um, so yeah, I don't know if you are calling in as a guest so that you can communicate through here. Is that what it is? Like callers? Maybe I take in callers. The only thing is I do a Facebook Live, and the Facebook Live, I would want those individuals to hear what was going on as well. So it gets a little tricksy. Okay. So again, we're going to be on Instagram. I forgot to tell you guys, when we do the live video, it's going to be streaming on Instagram rather than Facebook because Facebook doesn't allow you to bring on guests anymore. So just so you know. Okay, what are you speaking about? So I do readings from the Four Agreements, typically, but because I have a lot going on in my life, Andy, I sort of talk about what's going on in my life and teach people how to use the alchemic process, the spiritual alchemic process to illuminate or to bring themselves right back to love. Now, but that takes a lot, and there's a lot of different scenarios that play out. And so that's typically what we do here. It's taking concept into action and not just speaking about it, but learning how to live it rather than talk about it. Because we know, good morning, Jonathan, that people tend to talk about spirituality, not really live spirituality or live a spiritual life or live into the spiritual alchemic process, which is not easy. So most people are like, oh, I'm gonna, illuminate. I'm like, good luck with that because it's not easy. So giving practical uses of esoteric wisdom is another way you can say it, or I would say it. And so I live in the US and I live in New Mexico. So there. Awesome. And we're wrapping this up now, but we do drink coffee here and I am on Facebook Live if you ever want to see actual live video. Yeah. So you can go, and I do have my Facebook on you can follow me on Facebook Live. So there you have it. That is what we will talk about today, and I will be seeing you guys tomorrow, which I'm super excited about. I love you guys. Have the best day ever. Okay. See you. Bye.